call this meeting to order for the Board of Trustees of the Town of Buena Vista. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Lacy,
Here.
Trustee Eckstein,
Yes.
Trustee Fay,
Yes.
Trustee Nyberg,
Here.
Trustee Switcher,
You're muted, Cindy.
Thanks again, Philip, for managing that slide set.
I'm here.
Okay,
okay,
thank you.
Trustee Rowe,
Here.
and Trustee Philippi.
Thank you all very much. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Second. I'm going to mute everybody, and Duff, you can take yourself off mute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Next item on the agenda is swearing in. I believe, Paula, are you taking care of that?
And the privilege. This is one of the most favorite parts of my job,
Awesome.
is to be able to swear in the police officers and the firefighters. So I respect you guys so much. You are the heroes.
Well, thank you.
So I'll just read this and you can just repeat after me.
Okay.
Okay, I, Nicholas Delory,
I, Nicholas Delory,
do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the laws of the State of Colorado,
the laws of the State of Colorado,
the ordinances of the Town of Buena Vista,
the ordinances of the Town of Buena Vista,
and will faithfully perform the duties
and will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of firefighter
of the office of firefighter,
upon which I'm about to enter to the best of my ability.
upon which I'm about to enter to the best of my ability.
Great. Thank you. So I need a couple signatures, please.
Okay.
Thank you, and welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Oh,
Right.
Glad to be on the team.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much, and we welcome you to our club. Next,
Thank you.
you guys, thanks for being here. Nice meeting you.
One second, Mayor. We're almost back to it.
not a problem. You're all good.
All right. Thank you all for that. We're ready to move on.
And thank you, Paula, for taking care of that.
You bet.
Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any questions or comments on the agenda? Hearing none, would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Thank
agenda.
Thank you, Cindy.
Second.
Second, Fay. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next item is consent agenda. Are there any comments or questions on the consent agenda? I would like to point out the appointment and reappointment of Bonnie Davis Dorothy Distel, alternate member, and also Colleen as an alternate to the Beautification Board. We welcome everybody that stands up for the town of Buena Vista. We welcome them all. Are there any other questions or comments? I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Most second.
Second, Swisher. Movement by Nyberg.
Yes.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next item is public comment. And if you open up, excuse me, if you're on a phone, you can press *9 and the meeting host will prompt you to unmute when it's your turn to speak. You may also, I believe they can still raise their hand in chat. Is that correct, Philip?
That is correct.
Thank you. I do not see anything. Thank
I
you.
do not either.
Okay, thank you. I close this portion of public comment. First item is the Chaffee Recreation Plan, and we welcome Kim Marquis and Earl Richman. And I did see where Kim was here. There she is. I believe, Earl, you'll start this off.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Council. Happy New Year to everyone. As we move into 2021, we're excited about several projects. But one of my main goals going into this new year is to be connected and a part of an advisory board outside of the town of Buena Vista. So last year I was introduced to an opportunity to be on the Chaffee County Rec Master Plan Committee. And it's been an amazing time with great folks from around our county, both north and south. And tonight we are joined by Kim Marquis, who's my neighbor and friend, but she is traveling and beating the cold. So I think she's joining us from Florida. So we want to welcome Kim. Tonight we are going to bring you up to speed on what the Chaffee Rec Master Plan has looked like and where we're heading. Because later in the year, we'll be coming back to the town to ask for some assistance, both in cooperation, potentially some financial matches with some really cool opportunities as we go into the future here. So without further ado, I'll bring Kim on to get us started with the presentation.
All right, thanks, Earl. Can everybody hear me?
Just fine.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time tonight. I really appreciate it, and Happy New Year. So some of the information I'll give you tonight has been in the local newspaper, so you might have heard of some of the things I'll talk about, but I do appreciate you guys having us here to kind of bring you up to speed about what's happened, and then also let you know what we'll be asking of you guys in the future related to this Chaffee Recreation Plan. This is just a lot of the people that are involved in the plan. On the left-hand side, we have the Recreation Council leaders and members, and Earl will talk about that a little bit more. He's been a really great addition to this council. He's helped us out a lot, and we really appreciate him connecting us to you all and letting us know what your concerns and problems are and issues and challenges in BV related to recreation and growing recreation. And then on the right are just some logos for some of the groups that are involved in the task force. We have people from all walks involved in helping us shape the plan. Next slide, please. So essentially, what we want to do here is develop a plan that addresses a three-pronged goal. We want to make sure that in the future, as recreation use continues to grow, we continue to have healthy forest waters, wildlife, and working lands, sustainable economic benefits of our tourism industry, and then as well, exceptional multi-use experiences, which of course are a huge part of a lot of our lives, quality of life for a lot of residents, and it feeds into our sustainable economic benefits of recreation. The new things that we've done, we've been working on this plan for over a year to develop these goals. The new things that we've put out recently were a recreation survey that was out this fall that was taken by almost 4,000 people, both residents and visitors. The Visitors Bureau was very helpful in getting that out for us, and we got responses from people who had visited Chaffee from 41 different states. We did an agricultural and recreation survey that was taken by 60% of our operators in Chaffee. I won't talk about that too much today. And then I will talk a lot about the Chaffee Recreation Report Card, which also came out this fall along with the survey. It has a lot of data in it, and I'm just going to touch on some of it today. The reason that Envision does these report cards is to try and just share a lot of information and kind of get people on the same page about what is happening, what are we thinking about, what's happening, and what is the data to back up those feelings. So next slide, please. As you guys already know, oh, Earl, did you want to add something?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add one thing just to kind of set the tone for our Board of Trustees is we're talking about recreation in terms of camping and hiking and biking and hunting and fishing, the more outdoor type of recreation than what you hear me reporting a lot about, which is basketball, baseball, football, etc. So I know that's obvious, but I just wanted to make sure that was clear for some people that may be questioning what part of rec are we focusing on. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that clarification. So as you all probably already know, about a third of our economy and a bunch of our jobs are driven by tourism, which in Chaffee County is heavily driven by outdoor recreation, and that we have had a pretty fast-paced growth in all visitation, actually. I live in Buena Vista, as Earl already mentioned. We think we have about 4 million people visiting Chaffee County a year. That is an estimate, and it's based on Colorado Tourism Office figures. It's based on spending. So it's a percentage of statewide spending. In Chaffee County, it grew 13% a year in the years leading up to the pandemic. I know you all very closely watch spending in Buena Vista, so I'm sure that figure isn't that surprising to you. The chart on the right is also from the CTO, showing, especially after 2015, how quickly tourism spending grew in Chaffee County in general. And of course, it grew during the pandemic. Use grew. We don't know if spending grew so much. I think probably spending habits will have changed during the pandemic. Anyway, we have some pretty fast-paced growth if you look at the spending. All these folks are, say, going to 4 Mile. Some of them are hunting, fishing, rafting the river, coming to use their ATVs or just to hike the 14ers or whatever. Earl has really been helpful in getting us to realize that they all stop in town. Of course, we knew that. They go to the restaurants and to the shops and stuff, but we've learned from Earl, they also go to the bathroom in town and they throw their trash away in town, and other impacts that you all are seeing due to the increased use of the public lands. Next slide. So some of the indicators that we used in the report card for recreation show that we are not on track to maintain our exceptional experiences or maintain our healthy natural resources. Of course, these two things underpin our economic benefit of our public lands. For instance, in the survey, more than half of people said that the benefits of visitors coming to recreate do not outweigh the impacts that they're seeing on the lands. Next slide. So really what kind of underpins everything and is kind of the common denominator is that everyone is coming either to visit or to live here really for the opportunity to disconnect and to enjoy the beautiful natural places. no matter what kind of recreation activity they're doing. This is really what they appreciate at the very base level about coming to Chaffee County. So it's nice to find kind of that common denominator, if you will. Next slide, because there's a lot of things that are kind of changing. This is kind of leading towards talking about the experience side of things. This is a comment that we received just a few months ago. I won't read it all, but essentially someone camping in 4 Mile says, Chaffee County used to be my wonderful getaway from the city. I always came to camp and go to the hot springs. I'm so saddened by what is happening there now. Toilet paper and human feces are everywhere at 4 Mile. I do not enjoy pulling into a campsite and seeing someone's SH blank blank 3 feet from my Jeep. Sorry for the words there. I am so turned off. And he goes on to call it a gross problem. So this is just an example of some of the things we're hearing and that we heard in the survey. Next slide, please. Obviously related to experience. Of course, experience, how is your experience, is just a perception. So we tried to really dig into this a little bit more with the survey. And if you look at the left-hand graph there, it's talking about why the quality of their experiences had improved. A little less than half of the residents said that their experiences either had no change or were improving. And I find it really interesting, and actually maybe not surprising, that near town experiences, the river assets, the trails, the new mountain biking trails we have, the new put-ins, all the signage, that was mentioned by many, many people as reasons why their quality of their outdoor experience has improved. They also really love the new shops and restaurants, the water park, the splash park in BV. And then not surprisingly, there's better information that they can now get on their handheld devices, such as, you know, they can easily go find that new mountain biking trail because it's right there on their cell phone. Of course, that last thing probably helps lead into the problems on the right-hand side that we see in that graph. Why has your quality of your experience gone down? Why is it degraded? Too many people is hugely mentioned by almost everyone. A lot of them mention irresponsible people. So the results of behavior, degraded natural resources, which I'll talk a little bit more about because this is a perception again. People are saying they're seeing degraded natural resources. Also, a lot of complaints about ATV and UTV use, side-by-sides, whatever you want to call them. The speed, the noise, the dust were mentioned by a lot of people, as well as, of course, trash and seeing human waste while they're out there recreating. Next slide. Thank you. So getting into those natural resources a little bit more, you can see in the report card, this received only a D+, which is only a click and a half above an F. The dispersed campsite impact is huge. There's a photo there where you can see a campfire that got out of control. All the trees in the background there have been denuded because people have been cutting the limbs. You can see where the campground, the ground has been denuded exponentially because of so much use. But we also measured we used other indicators here. We went to the CPW and asked them about wildlife population trends. Those did receive a C, but we're definitely seeing some significant declines in some of them. All of that information is in the report. I had mentioned we talked to the agricultural operators and asked how they're being impacted by gates being left open and things of that nature. So we definitely have some issues in this space. Next slide, please. And so here's just some other information. We talked to AHRA. They're concerned about the gold medal status on the Arkansas River because we have so much camping and denuded ground up and down the river along the banks. There are no bathrooms in a lot of places, and we have, growing camping use along the river. So that's a concern. CPW is saying that if the current trends continue, we could definitely see some reductions in our wildlife populations over the next decade. This is not all due to recreation, but they say that recreation is a contributor because people are out in the woods and recreating so many more people and so much more than before. And then next slide, please. On top of all that, we have some financial challenges and some human resource challenges. So as we are growing 13% a year in those years leading up to the pandemic, we are not keeping up as far as agency funding, city funding for recreation per visitor. Our developed campsites are growing, but still not keeping up with growth in use. And of course, restrooms, we don't have enough restrooms out there. This is kind of an interesting slide for me, the decrease 40% in the agency funding. It's important that we are working with you and Earl has already told me that you all see the situation or interested in helping to manage public lands, even though they're not city lands. We've done a lot of research on other communities and have seen areas where they really struggled for a long time with kind of fighting, and a back and forth with the agency because it's not an ownership over the public lands. Earl has assured me that you all are definitely interested in this topic and recognize the importance of public lands to the economy and quality of life and everything else going on in town. So that's really good. I'm not sure if all the residents are kind of on that same page as well. We definitely still hear a lot of, well, they need to put up more signs and they need to, do more enforcement. And so we have, I think, some education to do with the public and having them understand about the fact that the agencies are like, they don't have a cavalry that's coming to just deal with all of these people. Next slide, please. And so this is what the recreation report card looks like. I did kind of just throw a lot of information at you. There's a ton more in the report, which is at envisionchaffeecounty.org. And if you need help finding that, you can just get a hold of Earl or me. I'm at info@envisionchaffeecounty.org if you want to take another look at it or dig into some of this information a little bit more. Next slide, please. And so the good news is that, we're not just stuck in this place. This is why we formed the Chaffee Recreation Council, and we are working with the community to create these goals. It'd be really great to be able to have all three of these things be B's or A's. And so that's what we're working towards and hoping to do it together with this plan. Next slide. And then I think we're going to go to Earl. One more thing here, and this is totally true for me. I was so, this is a lot of information. A lot of it is a little bit startling and upsetting, but it was great to read the survey and see how much support there was for taking action, about our public lands and the challenges that we have on them. The survey showed that almost everyone, a high percentage of people, really supported doing some of these things, like limiting development in areas that are critical to wildlife. Of course, we already have seasonal closures. BVSC has been, really promoting those, and they seem to be taking hold. They have great signs out there. People like the idea of focusing recreation development in and near towns. They definitely support more enforcement, closing inappropriate and illegal campsites. This one surprised me, requiring human waste removal for vehicle camping, and then transitioning to designated dispersed camping. So for example, right now in 4 Mile, you can pretty much camp anywhere. Designated dispersed would put little small signs and numbers and give people maps so that hopefully, we don't just continue to see the expansion of the size and number of campsites out there if we decide to go that way with designated dispersed camping. Next slide. So yeah, Earl's going to talk about the council and where we're at in this planning process and what happens next. And then I think we'll take your questions. So thanks. Earl?
Yep, thank you, Kim. Next slide, please. So the Chaffee Recreation Council is comprised of a large group of us, and we meet monthly and have very robust agendas, but really good work sessions. We got, anywhere from public health to county commissioners, leaders of the U.S. Forest Service regionally and Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Town of Buena Vista Rec Department, same with the city of Salida. So the list is very, very strong, really good people, with all sorts of great backstories that have been here for many years and have seen the ongoing impacts of recreational tourism. So very efficient meetings. It's something that I spend, sometime each week on, and a bulk of one day a month, and it's just been great. Next slide. So this gives a good little timeline on some goals that we have with our rec council. Starting last June of 2020, we set our community goals. And then we did a lot of research and measured the current state of our affairs in November. And then December, we created our plan objectives. By March 2021, we want to develop our initial strategies, and then have our plan ready to be available and presented to the public by June 2021. So pretty aggressive timeline, but again, the leadership and the admins that help run this group are very, very efficient and very effective, and really work hard to get all the information in and help us stay in a really good direction to accomplish these goals. And then of course, like Kim said, we're looking to go straight A's. It's going to take a while, 3 to 5 years to get there, but we feel with collaboration within our county, we can definitely do that. Next slide. So what are we requesting from town council? So just allowing me to spend some time and continue to be engaged with this group. I think it's very important for us as a town. As Kim has said, we're growing, people are coming. There's no wall keeping people out. We've done a great job at really promoting how awesome we are for outdoor rec, and people are here. We want to get continued input from our council and just make sure that we're staying on track, and engagement from trustees as we continue our strategies. If everything looks good and is presented and the council believes this is a strong plan, then we would be looking for a sign-on signature in early summer 21. And then of course, anyone can get more information by going to the info at envisionchaffeecounty.org. Next slide. So town-related objectives. I'm going to be honest here. So I read through this a couple different times, and I just want to give my interpretation of what we want to accomplish. The big thing is getting ready. We've already done a great job with our teams in town, getting ready for the larger groups that are coming, knowing that people come to 4 Mile and to the river and to hike the 14ers, and they come into BV and they shop, dine, lodge, and spend, which is great. It helps bring tax revenue into our town to help with our operating budget. But with that comes impacts. So we want to keep our eye on that and make sure that we're doing what we can to react to the impacts that we're seeing as it relates to parking, trash, and restrooms. Second big thing is, for us as a community to get behind the master plan. Again, getting educated on it, giving us your input. And then once we have it laid out, that we can move forward with a great document to get us to where we want to be. And then of course, there'll be opportunity for the town to be involved with some bigger projects that we might come and ask for some seed money. We saw success with that with the public lands wildfire mitigation project last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kim, I think the town contributed roughly $10,000 to over $1 million project to help keep our forests healthy for fire mitigation. So that's just an example how the town can be very impactful with small amounts of money to help with a huge effort in the future. And then again, I've reiterated this a couple of times, we do not own the public lands around us, but we call them home. And our guests have a hard time delineating once they cross the bridge and head up the Whipple Trail that they're not in the town of Buena Vista. So we want to do everything that we can to keep an eye on our cherished resources and make sure we take care of them. Because we know it's a huge economic driver, brings a lot of people to our town. But we don't want to be the only ones responsible. We want to work as a team to make sure we all together can get to where we want to be in the future. Next slide. I'll read this. Chaffee County is a fantastic place to live and recreate. We all need to work to maintain it for future generations. Thank you. Kim?
Thanks, Earl. We just got some comments in the survey. And so it was wonderful, like I already said, to hear from people willing to really put it all out there to help maintain the things that they love about this place. I think that might have been the last slide. And then we were hoping we would still have some time for questions.
Sure. Questions, trustees? I'll just start off by saying thank you both. Earl has proven to be a very good asset for the town of Buena Vista when it comes to recreation and what he knows and experiences, and putting that in combination with Chaffee County recreation leaps and bounds. I mean, it's a vision that I think everybody has, and so we really appreciate what you guys do. Trustees, any questions? Go ahead, Dave.
I'm looking at the list of the members of the Chaffee Recreation Council, and I see, Kalen Leonard and Jim Pitts and Ben Lara and members of the various land management state and federal agencies. And I'm wondering, are they actually offering input, or are they just more receiving recommendations and guiding you guys through the process? I'm trying to figure out how the interface between the advisory group and the land managers and how that relationship is going to work going forward, because it's technically their land.
I'll start and then let Kim fill in the blanks. I will say that everyone on that list works really hard on every aspect of this plan, meaning they are not sitting back and just listening and observing. They are working with us in every subject area to give us amazing input and backstories that, I would never have known. So yeah, Kim?
Yeah, thanks for observing that, Earl, for sure. These guys and gals are super excited that we have this community planning initiative in Chaffee County. It's going to help them get their jobs done. I mean, they flat out admit that they struggle because of the funding and their staffing levels, but they live here too. And it is America's public lands. So we can't say everything that happens there, but these guys are wanting to hear from the community and have our plan to help them guide what they're going to be doing, whether they put designated dispersed camping in 4 Mile, how they're going to fund and do more enforcement, as a lot of people have asked for. And I'll just say, I'm sorry, I failed to introduce myself. My last name is Marquis. I'm Kim Marquis. I live in Buena Vista. I'm the outreach and program coordinator for Envision Chaffee County. I also work on the wildfire plan and the Chaffee County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Envision acts as a facilitator. So we are just helping them get together and work together. And as Earl said, bring the agenda to the table and have all of these meetings so that we can plan. And then once the plan is done, implement the plan. So we work with these agencies as well on the wildfire issue. And it's awesome how we're working together. So thanks for that question. And I completely understand where you're coming from. You're wanting to understand that role, and hopefully I've answered your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great job, you guys. Keep it up.
Thanks.
Amy, go ahead.
Thank you. Hey, Kim, how are you?
Great.
So on the slide 52, is the funding down because so many more people are visiting? Is that what's causing the decrease?
Yeah,
funding?
obviously, because we did it per visitor. So Essentially, if we added up all of this, I think it would probably be pretty much flat. I mean, you have city funding, which I know you guys have increased some, and agency funding, which is down. But we decided to measure it per visitor because we've had so much growth over the past 5 years. I mean, not to inflate anything, but just to show the growth compared to the amount of well, it's zero, that's being added to help us manage the increased use.
And the agency, is that BLM and Forest Service? Is that what is meant by the agency, or is that Envision?
Yeah. No, agency is, like you said, the land management agency. So CPW, BLM, US Forest Service, and AHRA.
Okay. And then this may be under the cultivate high quality, low impact camping. I wonder if with recent events over the past few years, if it's time for town to revisit in-town camping, both as a way to increase camping availability, possibly as a way to increase revenue, and overall add a great experience. I know this is something that came up in the past. It was on the rec plan. And if Mayor, the board was up for it, maybe we could add that discussion to the spring planning session. Thanks.
You bet. That's something we can obviously talk about. I think the questions that probably, and I'm going to assume a little bit here, are in the back of everybody's minds, and they're all the detailed questions. Well, how are you going to do that? And how do you get more enforcement? How do you, those kind of things. But I know that's what you are working on. And obviously that's what you'll bring forward to us. So it's just one of those things. I think those are the questions that I don't care who you talk to, that's what they're going to say is the same thing. We know that CPW is unmanned. I mean, they just don't have enough people. How are we going to help? How can we help with that enforcement? And I know those are the things you're going to be looking at. So we really appreciate what you brought forward. Is there anybody else that has any questions? Great. Kim, it's supposed to snow there, by the way. Okay.
No.
Really?
She says no. Okay. Thank you both. And we do appreciate everything you guys do. We really do. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, and hopefully we'll see you again soon with more detailed answers and a plan.
Take care. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
You betcha. Next item on the agenda is the Bus Stop BV LLC Improvement Agreement. Should the Board of Trustees approve adoption of Resolution 05, Series 2021, entitled "A Resolution of the Board of Trustees for the Town of Buena Vista, Colorado, approving a public improvement agreement with Bus Stop BV LLC for the property located at 505 East Main Street, Buena Vista, Colorado." Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, trustees. Can you all hear me?
You bet.
Perfect. On page 2 is our staff report. Basically, we are bringing a public improvements agreement from Bus Stop BV LLC, which is the owners of the property where South Court Social is going to be built. And I think they're going to be renaming it to La Vista. And they have proposed a public improvements agreement that totals about just over $167,000 to guarantee that those public improvements are built for Main Street, Court Street, and part of the alley to the south of them. So with that, I just would note that that agreement is in your packet. The amount is the public improvements agreement is shown on page 75. And the resolution is to have the mayor authorized to sign that public improvements agreement. And with that, I'll step aside and wait for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mark. Questions for Mark on this one? I would entertain a motion if there are no questions.
Make the motion to approve resolution number 5.
Thank you, Dave.
Second that.
Second, Fay. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please, Paula.
Trustee Eckstein,
Yes.
trustee Fay,
Yes.
trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
trustee Rowe,
Yes.
trustee Swisher, trustee Globe,
Yes.
trustee Swisher,
May I ask Town Attorney Parker what we should do if we don't hear a vote? Should we wait?
Sorry, y'all. I had a quick emergency I had to deal with. I took me 2 minutes. I'm sorry about that. I missed the question.
Oh, we're doing a roll call vote on a motion in a second. And one of the trustees looks to be away. So just curious what we should do.
Can we wait for a minute to see if the trustee can pop back on there? Are they actually away from their desk, or are they off, completely off?
They're just on the desk, it looks like.
I would do roll call on everybody if you already have. Maybe wait for 30 seconds or so.
Okay.
okay.
And if they don't come back, I'm assuming you're going to get a majority anyways.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I apologize for that. I had a little crisis for like 20 seconds there. I had one earphone in and I heard my name, so I apologize for that. I guess assuming that the trustee's away, I would probably just say that, make it of a record that the trustee wasn't available for the vote because they stepped away, and then we'll just take the majority vote anyway. So we should be fine.
And
Thank you.
I think, Philip, we've actually had that amount of time.
Yes.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and move forward and let the record show exactly what Jeff had mentioned, that it was a majority vote and trustee Swisher was not available to make a vote. So the resolution passes 5-1. Thank you all very much. Next item on the agenda is the Chaffee County Housing Authority. The board will consider appointing Patrick Post and Monica Haskell as an at-large members of the Chaffee County Housing Authority. Philip?
Yes, thank you all. We are so close to having a full housing authority board, just so close. So we're bringing it back tonight. Hopefully this is the last step before the initial kickoff meeting for the new directors for the housing authority, Chaffee Housing Authority. So just a quick recap, and then I'll take questions. When this structure was initially set up, it was set up as a 9-person board of directors, which was made up of three appointed from the county commissioners, 2 appointed from the city of Salida, 2 appointed from the town of Buena Vista, and there were 2 from the town of Poncha Springs. But as Poncha decided not to participate, we did a bit of a scramble and decided to structure those last 2 seats as at-large appointments. In other words, they can represent the county overall, including the county and municipalities. So everybody agreed that was a good structure to get us going. And the complication comes in, how do we go about appointing these last 2 at-large seats? So essentially what we're doing is we had the county commissioners review the eligible applications for the at-large seats, which I think came in around 10. And they made a recommendation on their top 2. And that a lot of input went into that, primarily the skill sets and the mix of skills from the 7 that have already been appointed, and what would be a good complement to those 7 to finish out the 9. So the second step was the administrators from across the county reviewed that, and we unanimously agreed with those recommendations. And so you do have the recommendation for Patrick Post and Monica Haskell to a 2-year and 1-year term as defined here. I did share with the trustees links to the other applications. So if you had questions about those, I can certainly take those or try to. And then the last thing I will mention is for next steps is once the board makes a formal decision tonight, recommendation, I'll take that back to the other agencies. And then if they are in agreement, we can move forward and Becky Gray and team can get rolling, which I know we're all eager to see that happen. So what I'm asking for is a motion from the board to approve the appointment of both Patrick and Monica for the at-large members for the Chaffee Housing Authority. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Philip. Does anybody have any questions on the process or anything else about this system? Libby, you raised your hand a little bit.
I would just like to make the motion.
Thank you very
when
much.
that comes up.
You can go right ahead anytime.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that Patrick Post be appointed to the Chaffee Housing Authority for a 2-year term and Monica Haskell for a 1-year term.
Second.
Second, Nyberg, further discussion? Any questions on the process? Thank you very much. Paula, will you do roll call again? And we will, I will say at this point, Cindy is not back. So let's go ahead and consider 5 trustees as the attendees at this point until we hear more from her.
Okay, Trustee Eckstein,
Yes.
Trustee Fay,
Yes.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Rowe,
Yes.
and Trustee Volpe.
Yes.
Great. Thank you all very much. And thank you, Philip. I'm glad this is narrowing down to the end.
Yes.
Yeah, no more hiccups, right? No more hiccups.
Yeah, that's right.
Looks like it'll be a great board.
You know, it's the whole thing is going to be good. The county needs it. It's going to work well. Next item on the agenda is the water plant expansion plan. Should the Board of Trustees approve adoption of resolution number 6, series 2020, entitled a resolution of the Board of Trustees for the town of Buena Vista to review and approve a request for a qualification RFQ for the town of Buena Vista water treatment plant design and capacity expansion project. I'm going to go on a limb here and assume, gosh, it must be Sean.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'll see if I can handle this one without Al and the big brains. But yeah, I think we're all pretty aware what this is. The resolution is on page 81 of the packet, and the RFQ is on page 82. And yeah, if you want, I can kind of get through kind of the high points of the RFQ for you guys. It's pretty self-explanatory. You know, what we're doing is we're looking for a good team of engineers to help us design the water treatment plant expansion project. So a little different than what we see with the RFPs. This is, you know, we want a statement of qualifications. So we're looking for a firm to give us a proposal and help us build our water treatment plant. So we have a pretty good information here. Al did a pretty good job on putting this together for us. We have a little massaging to do, a couple tweaks, but in general, this captures fundamentally what we're looking for the design and gives enough background information for people to kind of look and see what we're wanting to do. So yeah, we want to be able to get this out advertise, get it posted on our website, and kind of let the world know what we're doing here. So introduction's pretty standard there. So yeah, statement of qualifications, and we have a little bit of information on there, just kind of breaking everything down for the water plan and what it means and what we're looking for. We also have a pretty good background section in here that talks about the project needs and existing facilities. So a fairly intimate perspective on our water portfolio and our infrastructure, and kind of a little bit of a story of what we're wanting to improve and what we have to work with. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit of background information also on our water rights and our source water supplies and things like that. So really the project description and project scope is identified very well. And I guess the big thing is that I saw in here that I really thought was really good is that we have a way to kind of score the consultants and the firms that are looking to do the work for us. And so we have a pretty stringent set of requirements and good scoring opportunities for our review, and then kind of getting back down to the bottom of it. And hopefully I'm not going through this too fast. I assume we all kind of have looked at this and we're aware of what this is. I really wanted to kind of focus on the RFQ schedule. So it seems to be fairly user-friendly for the RFQ and the firms to be able to put their information and their package together for us to look at. And we gave a little bit more room from the proposal due date and the notice of selection to allow for staff and advisory board review, so we could have some feedback and some consulting from our water advisory board as well. But let's see, I think that's about really it in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there's something that you're not sure about, or if there's something in there that you want to discuss.
Trustees, do you have any questions? Go ahead, Libby.
I have a couple of questions. So we've talked about this water treatment plant before, and it seemed like we had the options of either building a whole new water treatment plant or upgrading the current one. And is this the version of upgrading the current one with the cartridge system and all that?
Well, it hopefully so, right? So what this will allow us to do is look at alternative ideas as well, right? And so the reference material is there. So the Providence feasibility study is a great reference guidance to kind of, let the proposed engineering firms kind of see how we got on this track, right? Because it really identified the cost analysis with building a new water treatment plant, rehabilitating the existing water treatment plant, and then the gallery, expansion project, the cartridge filtration project that Andrew Rice put together when he was with Providence. And so there's a lot of good information there that, but it also allows us to maybe think outside the box a little bit, right? So we might be presented with some alternative ideas that might give us some pretty good options, as well as give us the opportunity to let Right Water look at this, let RGA look at this, and let other engineering firms look at it as well. But yeah, I think we might see some other things come in on this, but I think that ultimately the idea is to not mislead anybody in the design, but also, keep our options open if there's something out there that maybe, somebody wants to share with us.
Another question related to this is the issue of fluoridating the water comes up every decade or so, and I'd like to bring it up again. And it seems like this would be the place to start addressing that question.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah. I think, Trustee Fay, this is kind of capturing the meat of what we're looking for. There's some subtleties that are coming with this, and I think fluoridation, I think security, there's some other kind of amenities that we'll be reviewing as well. Looking at our funding opportunities, looking at what we can afford, but also evaluating the fluoride is definitely going to be something that we want to include for our review as well.
okay, should it be in here in any way as one of their qualifications?
Well, I think I think like the broad stroke of this is to capture our water rights into our infrastructure. Philip and I had talked about, the security, it's something that's being presented to us as well. And with some of the engineering, conversations that we've had over the last, year or so, talking about amenities, generators and things like that come with this too. If you would, I don't know how to kind of get into the RFQ, but I think that we can definitely, as this gets published and we're able to converse with the firms that are inquiring about it, we can definitely make an amendment to the RFQ package, if you would like.
You make the amendment now or later? I mean, it sounds like you're talking about now.
Yeah, I think if you would like to add, let's see if I can kind of wing this right now. If we can find a section in here where we can maybe put in a bullet point, or in the project description, if we can capture that with an evaluation need. And include the fluoride in that, and maybe security in that, and
yeah, I would like that included in here.
Yeah. I think we could probably work it into it. I think though, like I said earlier with this, I think this is just the broad stroke of capturing our water rights into our infrastructure, and what is the technology that's going to allow us to do that. As we kind of get into the design of the water plant and looking at our treatment needs and our treatment techniques and our possible need for fluoridation or request for fluoridation. I think that would kind of come with an evaluation as we're developing. Seems to me that most engineering teams that I've worked with, they have a lot of questions, and they like to talk to water operators. They like to talk to staff, and the ones that seem to kind of connect well with communities like ours ask a lot of questions and really understand that there's subtleties to these and amenities that come with this project too. But I'm struggling a little bit right now on how to kind of capture that, but I think I probably could, create something within the evaluation or the project description. I don't know if that would affect the resolution tonight. Sure would love to get this out.
Oh, I won't get it. Yeah.
I think we could add it, Sean, or we could include it as a kind of some optional scope items for the scope of the project. We could just make note of them, and it's not gonna change the resolution for tonight. So if the board wants to pass the resolution, they could just pass it with amendments to the RFQ if they want to do that.
And
Okay.
it would seem that, and this is just my interpretation, if you're sending out an RFQ for a treatment plant, I think that's a very broad term in the respect that it's saying it is a treatment plant. So we're looking at the full scope or the full possibility of treatment. So I think that would be, in my opinion, that would be included in, if I was applying for this, I would say, okay, here's what I think you need. And what do you think? And in other words, you're kind of leaving it out there because you've got written questions are due by January 29th. I would assume somebody that's putting in for this is going to ask that question. How deep a scope do you want? In other words, what kind of treatment? And I think that's obviously, if you're looking at these guys that are qualified, I assume they're going to bring that up.
Right. And I think that too, there's, once we find, the right firm, the qualified firm that we're looking for, there's the second part that comes with this, that's okay, let's start designing this. And, what are we going to do? Are we going to use, I'm going to digress here a little bit, are we going to use chlorine? Are we going to use UV light? Do we need to fluoride the water? Can we look at some raw water samples? Where's, what's your community? How do they feel about this? How do they feel about that? And, what are the problems that you guys have in doing things this way? And, so I think really what we're trying to find right now is somebody that is definitely qualified to build or rehab or do our water plant expansion project. So.
And that's the way I kind of perceive this RFQ is you're looking for qualified, the best. Yeah. And then, and correct me, I guess, Jeff, if I'm wrong, then you can narrow it down to here's what we want to see.
Right. And that's when we start the design. Yeah.
We put together a more actual detailed contract with the scope of what's actually being done after we review the qualifications, but it would help to, make sure that they're qualified to address whatever issues the board wants to see addressed. So.
Could we make sure that this is reflected in the minutes, this discussion? So that the issue of fluoridation doesn't get forgotten?
Yes.
Yep.
And I think there's I'll see what I can do. And Jeff, I think that, with these RFQs, there's always an opportunity for the town to provide that information within that document too, once it's posted too. So,
So like, and as Philip said, I don't think it's going to affect the resolution at this point. So obviously, and Sean is, I'm not anxiously chomping at the bit, but chomping at the bit to get it moving. So let's try to keep this moving, and we can always do some further discussion when we start getting closer. And actually, when it comes down to, because we're going to review the applicants, that could be a question that could be asked at that point in time, even at that during the review process. So keep that in the back of your mind. Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for John?
Oh.
I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution number 6, series 2021.
Thank you very much, Norm.
I'll second that.
Second row, further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Eckstein,
Yes.
Trustee Fay,
Yes.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Rowe,
Yes.
Trustee Swisher, Trustee Swisher,
Yes.
and Trustee Flopi.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is staff reports. Town administrator.
All right, page 90 of the packet is my report. And we are hitting the ground running in 2021. which is exciting and daunting and all of the above. So let me highlight a few key dates coming up. The first one, which is coming up on January 20th. We are planning on a joint work session between the Board of Trustees and the Planning and Zoning Commission at 6 p.m. Ahead of their regular meeting that starts at 7 p.m. This ties to the fee for water dedication policy concept, which we discussed with the board in the fourth quarter of last year. And what we're wanting to do is present some proposals and concepts to both the Board of Trustees and Planning and Zoning at the same time. That way we can, make sure everybody's on the same page. We're certainly not looking at any decision-making at that point from anyone, especially since it's a work session. But again, this is something that's pretty time sensitive, given that we want to, if the board's going to adopt a policy around water rights and development and fees for those types of things, we'd like to get that discussed in some of our public meetings and established before the busy development season hits us. We used to be slow in the winter, no such thing anymore, but we recognize we want to get this done earlier than later, if anything is to change. So we're looking forward to that on the 20th. We are also planning a session with our municipal court team, which I'm very excited about, because in my time as a trustee or administrator, I don't think we've ever done anything like this. And I think it's important for our teams to at least know who's who. So looking to do that on the 23rd. Depending on the agenda for that evening, we'll either do it as a work session or as part of the regular agenda, but we will have our judge, prosecutor, and clerk with us to talk about our municipal court. The final thing that I did not get into my report, but we're looking forward to in possibly in the first quarter, is a work session with our rec advisory board. And some of the topics that were discussed earlier might overlap a little bit, but there's a lot of programming and capital planning and forward thinking going on as usual with our rec advisory board. So we want to give that an opportunity as well. The other thing, I guess, in terms of a key date, I don't know if I got it. Sorry, I'm scrolling through my report to remember what was in there. The other thing that we will, I guess, maybe talk about in trustee staff interaction is our board retreat, strategic planning, board advance strategic planning time. And, we'd like to get that on the books as well, so we can start planning for that effort. So I think we'll come back to that, Mayor, during trustee staff. Hit a couple of other things real quick in my report. I tried to think of some of the projects that we're carrying over into this year to give some quick updates. Boys and Girls Club, that effort continues. We did have some initial discussion with the board last year on this, and there seemed to be quite a bit of support for that. On a project this size for them, it's going to take some time with their fundraising and design and planning for a new facility. So what I'm looking at to happen in first quarter is to establish a letter of intent, which will put down in writing what the town is looking at to contribute towards that project, what Boys and Girls Club will be doing, so that we can continue on the same page together with that organization. The Texaco demolition, which we're all so eager to see happen, it should be still on target. We did find out that the asbestos certificate expired. And so they're having to renew that so that they can get their final permit for demolition. But we still anticipate that to happen before the deadline that we have in the agreement, which is March 31st of this year. Also, just a plug, beautification. I think had some pretty good discussion, kickoff discussion on what to do in that corner once the demolition is complete. So they're already often talking about great ideas there. Some human resources staffing updates. We are moving ahead quickly with some of the new positions, part-time positions that we approved in the budget for this year. So our administrative assistants for police and rec, we are, I think, closed on both of those and did receive some really good applications. So hoping to have some people on board to join our teams by the end of January, maybe by early February. Fire authority discussions. This is a big one for this year. If we continue, and I say if, obviously I want to make sure the board is behind these efforts. And so right now we're working at a staff level to draft a memo of understanding that would outline how we will work together on this effort in 2021. And that will come back to you maybe January 6th. After some discussion today, it's probably going to be first meeting in February for you to see that. So be looking forward to that. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that offline. I think it's a good effort, but it's going to take some time. I'm not going to speak so much about the Tennessee Pass Rail announcements and some of the news that came out. I think you all are fairly caught up on that. I don't really have anything new to report on that, other than to say that staff will be working closely with the county as we find out more, and we'll, when the timing's right, we will initiate some correspondence, probably have some people at the board meeting to update you all on some facts related around what's going on there with the railroad. And finally, I did attach our draft work plans for our capital and operating projects in the packet. Again, I'm not going to go through all the detail there, but you'll get a sense just by looking at them, kind of how the year is starting to stack up. These are certainly draft at this stage. Our departments are still finalizing their individual work plans, which will then drive updates back into these overall plans. But in putting this together, it is exciting and daunting. We have a big year ahead, and I think the team is up for it. So if you have any questions about that or anything else in the report, I will take that now.
Go ahead, Amy.
For the Texaco building, I believe it was mentioned that there was possibly a planning grant in the works for that. Was that for this project?
No, not for that. Let me think.
Or maybe it was a sidewalk. It might have then been for the sidewalk by the grocery store then.
That's correct, Trustee Eckstein. That is the sidewalk right next to the grocery store.
So I think for such a visible corner, it may be best to look at engaging with some sort of professional design service, even if it's a graduate student from a design school, streetscape design, just because it's so visible. I like the idea of beautification committee handling it, even if they were to make the decisions, if there were 3 choices, but it's just such a visible, important corner. I think that's what I feel most comfortable with for that. And for the development, the water, for subdividing with water do you think Becky Gray would be involved in that conversation at all, or it's not since it involves affordable housing or?
We have been talking with her about some of the concepts that are rolling into the proposal. We can certainly invite her to that joint work session. I'm sure she'd be happy to attend. She attended the previous Planning and Zoning Commission, so she'd probably make herself available. But we have talked to her about some of the concepts about tying this fee for water into some incentives towards housing goals. So she's pretty caught up to speed with what we're doing here, but we can continue to keep her involved.
Thanks, Philip.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions for Philip at this time? Thank you, Philip. Next
Thank
is
you.
Rec Director Earl Richman.
All right, good evening again, Mayor and Trustees. My report is on page 94 of the packet. Just want to say, I've mentioned this a couple times. We had an amazing year, although very different. We learned a ton and are ready to move forward into 2021. Staffing, December was a super productive month, working on our strategic plans and year-end finances. Our staff has a retreat next week to work on our goals for 2021, which is really exciting. As Philip had mentioned, we had a memo out for applicants for the Rec Assist position. We've had numerous great applications. We're going to be doing interviews next week in the hopes that we can make a decision by early February and start up this role in mid-February. So that's really exciting. COVID in the rec industry, as we know, things are changing daily. We continue to stay in really good communications with Chaffee County Public Health and Colorado Department of Public Health as well. As we all know, we are in the orange dial right now. The county is doing everything in their power to update counts and information to the state to see if we can't get back into yellow. We're starting to plan for that. If we can get back into yellow on the dial, we can definitely offer some additional indoor programming in the winter months. CPW, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, our non-motorized trail grant. I reported last month that we were invited to do a second level presentation to them, and that occurred this morning. It was a great process. There's about 15 folks on the panel. We put together, Kelly Collins and myself, a nice little slide deck to show them what we would do to improve the trails on the Midland section and also our Whipple Bridge. So we will see. We should find out in about 4 weeks or so. Parallel to preparing for this grant, we were approached by the Land Water Conservation Fund. It's another source or another bucket of available funding out there for projects like this. So that's exciting to know that there's another opportunity out there. I'm sure what we're hearing and seeing is similar to other departments. Grants are extremely competitive. Colorado's growing. More towns need more money to do more projects, and we're no different. So we'll continue to be creative with our options for finding the funding that we need to accomplish the projects that we want to do. For the bike library, you may have seen we've relocated the sheds that were at Avery Parsons Elementary are now at the community center. That's nice. We can use those now for our cross-country ski league that starts up next week. So we're doing rentals for cross-country skis out of the bike library sheds, and have been doing some really good research on some programming opportunities for our BV bike library bikes come spring 21. GoCo Resilient Communities Grants. I've reported on this in December as well, but we plan to turn in our adjusted RFP on February 2nd. We'll be focusing on the Walton Loop and the single track through the disc golf. And we're also going to add on a third tier, which is the rock and roll trail, rehabbing that. And that's the trail that brings you to the river from the left of the bridge. It actually travels upstream. It's an old asphalt trail that needs to be rebuilt and resurfaced. So that's an exciting add-on for that grant. Again, working with Kelly Collins, who's been a savior from the Trails Advisory Board to help me stay focused and give me really good input on how to best draft these grants. NFC is the National Fitness Campaign. So there's a little video I put in my report you can watch when you have time, maybe you have. But actually the town of Buena Vista has a fitness court at the corner of East Main and South Main. Very highly used, but it's a little bit older and starting to be dated. So the National Fitness Campaign helps fund these projects through some mini grants and some cooperative grant opportunities. So we know we can't get this done in 2021. We're keeping our eyes on it for 2022. Ben and I have had some really good productive meetings with the National Fitness Campaign. We actually had one today that was really good. Next, BV Ice Rink, still working with this amazing group of energetic people that want to see ice happen in the town of Buena Vista. There's also talk of trying to get some people excited about skating in the northern county up at Cottonwood Lake. We're seeing a lot of skating down at Franz's Lake in Salida. The BV Ice Coalition group has been tasked to update their plan and bring it back to the Rec Advisory Board for us to review in the near future. So that's good. And then Rec and Balance, you got the updates from us. So thank you so much for allowing us time tonight to present that to you. I'm here anytime there are any questions on that. Just excited to keep on that as it's one of my top goals for 2021. Programming from Shane's side, continually monitoring the spread of COVID-19 is kind of the big underlying highlight. We do have our youth ski league starting next week. So we had over 30 people register in a couple of days for a cross-country ski program that takes place on Fridays up at Cottonwood Pass in cooperation with Buena Vista Mountain Adventures and BV Rec. So that's exciting. You're going to start to see some high school sports start up here. The difference between BV Rec and Buena Vista Schools is Buena Vista Schools is managed with their guidelines through CHASA. And CHASA has a variance with the state of Colorado to do some limited indoor sports activities where we as the town are not quite there yet, but we feel like we can get there if we can head back into the yellow on the COVID dial. And Shane is helping out with our Rec Assist program coordinator that's going to start here in the next month. So helping out with those applications. Ben stays extremely busy, fielding lots of phone calls for our facilities and helping people with their special event needs. So in his report, he keeps us up to date with what's happened in the past and what we can see in the future. Right now, we are currently not taking new reservations for the community center, just knowing that things could change. And so we're holding off, but staying in really good communication with our inquiries. 2021 looks to be really busy in our special event realm. We're having them plan it as if we are still in a pandemic, but also to having contingency plans if we get out of the pandemic stage. So he has listed a great list of events coming up in the summer of 2021, and more people are emailing and calling each day. And that is it. Highlights from the rec department. Thanks for your time, and I'll field any questions that come up.
Questions for Earl? Thank you, Earl. We appreciate it, and I know you guys are staying on top of it.
Thanks for the support. It was an early morning, so sorry if my tongue's getting a little twisted.
I didn't notice. Next, Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, trustees. All right, so kind of a little follow-up from last report I had with you guys, and kind of come to fruition with our yearly water production comparisons and water billing. So interesting, huh? Kind of interesting how we kind of came back down. I think we had kind of a strange year, but I'd like to think that most of that is due to leak detection and mainline repairs, although I think some of that might be attributed to COVID impacts, like the splash park being off all year, things like that, right? Conservation efforts, voluntary water restrictions and, things like that. But in a nutshell, we kind of rebounded pretty well. That's, a pretty decent unaccounted water rate for a year. It's not where we want to be. We'd like to be in that 12 to 15% range, but we're getting there. It's the best year that I've seen so far since I've been here. So optimistic there, and it's good to see that. So moving on to December, just the monthly comparisons. So we looking back at our water loss for the month. So yeah, we're kind of back to kind of chasing something that might be happening, but in most cases, the less water we make, the bigger that unaccounted goes. If you've been kind of following that trend, that's kind of what it does. But we are making a little bit more water than normal right now. So water department staff is being proactive and looking at possible areas that might have leaks. So, but yeah, all in all, things wrapped up pretty well for 2021. And moving on to, things wrapped up pretty well for 2020, and moving on to 2021, things to be kind of hitting stride pretty good. So we have a few things that we needed to wrap up for the year, but all in all, the month of January looks to be, let's get ready for this year and put our ops plans together for all of our departments, and staying pretty busy though. There's a lot going on right now. For the most part, the departments have been staying pretty busy with ops and normal things. Pretty big snow last week. Street department and parks had their hands full. Let me know if you see anything that we could improve on. But we have some things that we see internally that we're going to do better. But it was a lot of snow. Holy cow! Engineering, we're still plugging away. The high level stuff's still there. The standards and specs, we're wrapping up chapter 13, which is water mains and things like that. So the standards, we're just about done with that. Looks like we'll be bringing the planning team into the upcoming meetings for that project. Again, prepping for the water resource master plan as well, working with Right Water on that. They're putting together the scope and a proposal for the town to look at a new water resource master plan. Thanks for the approving the RFQ for the water plant expansion project. And we have 3 more months of data collect for the gallery groundwater study. So the piezometers that we have up there. And so that's going pretty well too. For the most part, facilities and plates doing pretty good. We had a little hiccup at town hall with some ice jamming. Staff got in there and cleaned some stuff out and found a problem with some of the heat tape in the gutters. But we're working to resolve that. As far as developments go, the usual suspects are still there. One thing that seems to be going pretty good right now is, we broke ground on the Pine Street water main. The contractor is putting pipe in the ground right now, and it looks like he's doing a pretty good job of that. But we're still working on reviews for the farm, Sunset Vista, Fading West, and South Court Social, and Legacy Bank to some extent. But yeah, should see the street project list for 2021 next month. We're updating the 5-year street maintenance plan, but likely to see things like Crossman Avenue, maybe get chip sealed or rehab. It's just a pretty high impact road. It looks like it needs some attention, and sections like maybe North Colorado that have a lot of traffic on them too. Just kind of evaluating some of those higher traffic areas right now, and wanting to move forward with the things that we've done in the last few years. So chip sealing, crack sealing, and overlay projects. Yeah, any questions? Happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Does anybody have questions for Sean at this point? Libby, go ahead.
Not a question, Sean, but the snow plowing was great. You know, it seemed like you were able to open up the bike lanes along Pleasant Avenue, and you know, people really have appreciated that, as well as sidewalk clearing that I know Grant and Philip have worked on. But it's great.
Thank you. Yeah, we kind of missed some of the right-of-way mailbox sections. So that's one area that I see that we need to do better. So places like Sunset Vista, Summer Song, you know, and just, you know, those mailboxes are in town right-of-way. So, you know, we need to kind of get back and do those, you know, maybe after we've cleared the snow. And we had a little bit of a hiccup in South Main too. So I think that, you know, all in all, I thought the guys did a really good job. I was out of the office, so I was really happy not to have a lot of hate mail come my way.
Anything else for Sean? Thank you very much, Sean. Next is Jack, Airport Manager.
Yes, good evening again, Mr. Mayor, trustees. First, I'd like, again, thank you for all attending our year-end brief. You know, it's another hour of your time. It's very busy times. I know Chandra and I put a lot of effort into it, and I appreciate it. And again, Philip, thank you for managing the slide deck. Moving forward, we are moving forward with the Av Fuel contract. We're going to have some meetings coming up shortly, which will affect Michelle. We're going to contact you and get you sit in on some of these. Going to my report, staffing wise, we're all back from a good holiday and everybody's healthy, and we're back to work. And Chandra and I are still going to try and split up the week as much as we can, working from home. Operations, so we do have Boeing here with the Apache helicopter. They were supposed to be here last February or March. They're now here doing their testing. Everything's working out just great. They're getting a lot of stuff done. They should be here to about middle of February. And then we did the year-end report. Won't go too much into the tables because we just saw those same numbers an hour ago. But I will like to iterate. Yeah, so the small aircraft come out of nowhere, and they were. We got a lot bigger numbers on the small aircraft operations, and as well as people transitioning through this airport, which of course would translate, as Earl says, you know, people are, you know, they're coming out to visit the mountain towns, and Buena Vista is one of the big places. I think this will be a trend. I think people have discovered the actual airport and the town, so I'm hoping this helps us out. And that's about, and like Sean said, beginning of the year, we've been very busy with snow removal. And, you know, once we get our other plow fixed, Sean, if you need a hand, give us a shout. Once we get our stuff done, we can offshoot and, you know, help you guys out as well. That's all I have.
I'm back. Does anybody have any questions for Jack? Thank you, Jack, and thank you for the presentation earlier. Very
You
good.
bet.
The next item is trustee staff interaction. Paula.
See, Happy New Year all. The only thing that I have to share is retail marijuana applications. We have got that posted on the website. That went out last Wednesday. They'll have 60 days to submit their applications, so they'll be due on March 8th by 5 p.m. Have been receiving quite a few phone calls daily on the processes and as far as what the next steps are. So we'll
All right.
keep you up to date on that.
Thank you, Paula. Michelle, we haven't heard from you.
I know, it's weird me sitting here just listening, right? I was out of town during the week where we got our reports ready, and internet was sketchy at best, and so I didn't have a report. I will be submitting a catch-up report as well as the fourth quarter status report and a final budget amendment. So I'll make up for it next time. But other than that, I'm good. Just isolating after my travel.
There you go. Thank you, Michelle, and thanks for the warning. We'll be
Bring your toothpicks to hold your eyelids open.
okay. Thank you. Sean, do you have anything else?
Yeah, a couple things. So
Okay.
I had a community request to evaluate the bike lanes on Rodeo Road. So I'll go out there with a measuring tape and see if there's an opportunity to see if there's any way that we can reduce the width of the existing one and move part of that available space to the west side of the road. We might have looked at it in the past. I'll definitely keep you guys up to speed on that if there's an opportunity there to do something. I think safety and bunching everybody up. I feel like the individual request is worth, at least taking a look at it and see what we have available there. The bike lanes on the highway are pretty skinny, so I don't know. But I'll keep you guys up to speed on that. And just, thank you all. And a special thanks to Trustee Fay. Thanks for your attention to the reports and your input. I appreciate that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Being you're on, Libby, go ahead. Thank you, Sean.
Well, I just want to tell everybody Happy New Year. And it sounds like the vaccination program at the fairgrounds is going well. As soon as they get an assured flow of vaccines, I think they'll be better off. But the CDC has just approved the vaccinations for people over 60. So that'll take in a few more of us trustees.
Hey, watch
soon.
it. Thank you, Libby. Hey, Dean.
Hey, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yep.
Yeah, the police report is on page 16 of the packet. Speaking of the vaccines, myself and a couple other officers with the department went and got it. As first responders, it's available to us. And I think there's a couple other officers considering it too when the next batch arrives. The case reports this year from 2019 to 2020, we were about neck and neck. But part of that is we were also down variously throughout the year, 3 officers. So that definitely put a lot of strain and a lot of workload on our officers. You could see our Facebook page at the end of December. We did the Shop with the Cop program that Salida Police Department organized. And we had really good turnout for that, really positive experience. But been doing some public meetings, the League of Women Voters, Family Youth Initiative, and some others. And there's been a lot of questions about COVID effects for law enforcement and our calls for service. And I know Salida Police Department, I talked to Chief Johnson, and in 2020, they were up 25%. On ours, even though we were neck and neck for some of our case reports, you could see an increase in certain types of reports, such as domestic violence was up by, it doubled since last year. Today was the first day of the police academy for our 2 new cadets. So really excited to get them through the academy and out on the road with us. They'll be graduating in May. And yeah, just looking ahead to, this is my first 6 months, I think, in this position. So I think I finally found where my desk is, but no, actually I'm starting to get a lot more comfortable in the position, and really appreciate the help and support from Philip and the other town staff, and Michelle and Jonna, especially helping with the budget and things like that. But yeah, as we're looking into the next year, we got a lot of training for our officers, which we're really excited about. It's also really important too for us to stay current on that training. So that's all I've got, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Anybody have any questions for Dean? Appreciate what you do, Dean, and all of your group also. So thank you very much. Joel, you're still with us. You got any comments?
Yeah, just one. Well, good evening, everyone. First of all, I sent you all an email probably around the turn of the year about that traffic or the light at Cedar and Belden. I've heard back from a few of you, and so if you guys have had a chance to go take a look at that street light, Cedar and Belden, at night or in the day, and if that is something you do not want in town, let us know, or if it's something you do, let us know, or stay quiet. That's cool too. Thank you.
Anybody have any comments right away for Joel while he's here? Go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, I've seen that light, and I think it's great. So you know, keep going with it, and let us know when we can get some more. So I like it.
And I swung by there also, Joel, and it looks good. It really does. It's as I was talking to Philip, it's going to be a cost saver too, because I think we can reduce the number of lights on each intersection, and that'll help with you know, contractors and everybody else in the town also. So I mean, it just looks real good, real good. Any other comments for him? Devin, you're up. You were there.
Thank you.
Well, I'm all set.
You all
Thanks.
good?
Yep.
Amy?
Sure. Thanks, Mayor. And I think you might bring up the retreat in a little bit, but you know, one of the good experiences as the board had this year is when CML had kind of that training for us, facilitated it. And I'm wondering if we can incorporate something like that into the annual planning, perhaps with DOLA. Maybe they can help facilitate conversation with us if the board thinks it's appropriate, or Philip, you have experience with that. I've been talking to our counterparts in Salida, and that's something they do that they speak highly of. And I really appreciated, Philip, your comments about vaccination availability in the north end of the county at the meeting yesterday. It's something I've been thinking about, but don't feel comfortable speaking for the board. But I was glad you brought it up. The vaccination program is in the south end of the county, but there's no immediate plans to have any vaccination led by the county anyway. And the north end of the county, perhaps BV Drug might be offering them, but as the weather gets bad and just overall availability, I'd be curious to hear from any trustees if they think, if there's any concern about that, if they think our people are concerned about it.
No comments at this point, Amy? you have anything else? Okay, thank you. Mark Doring.
Nothing at this time, other than I anticipate we will have several big projects coming your way this year.
Ready? Thank you, Mark. Norm?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. David?
I have nothing to add at this time either.
Okay, Jeff, do you want to smile at us some more? I mean, you're good at it.
I just try to keep smiling, nodding my head at all the great work you're all doing. So nothing legal to bring up right now, but appreciate the opportunity.
All righty. Thanks, Jeff.
He showed up in a button down tonight instead of his
Yeah.
hoodie.
I had a Zoom call with a few staff members in a hoodie, but I got to clean up for the real board meeting.
Oh, man. Earl, do you have anything else real quick?
Yeah, real quick on the vaccine side. So my father's 79. I took him for his vaccine at BB Drug. It was seamless. So good to see some action on the northern end. I just want to thank Paula and Lillian at Town Hall for just making our lives easy. And Paula's doing a great job getting Lillian up to speed to assist all of us staff members. And then today, Chief Morgan and myself were movie stars with the Chaffee as Heart film production, and they're doing a little piece that's going to air February 22nd. So that's it.
Thank you, Earl. Jack, you got anything? You just muted, Jack.
Jack, you just went on mute.
You muted yourself, Jack. There you go.
Now we can figure out this thing. Thanks again, everybody, for your support. A wonderful year, even with trying times. I just want to say this. I got Powerball Mega, so if I don't show up on Thursday or Friday, I won the big one. Have a good one.
Thanks, Jack. Cindy, what do you have?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Philip mentioned it. Amy mentioned it. I think we're anticipating the advance is what we've decided seems to work better than moving backwards. We move forwards. And so
That's right.
Yes. So we're going to call it an advance. We have already, I believe, Philip, you said we've already contacted Cindy, or excuse me, not Cindy, Christy Dune from DOLA. And she is more than happy to help, and she's done it previously before, and she's more than welcome. My opinion, and you guys can all weigh in, think about this. I prefer Saturdays rather than evenings. And the reason being is evenings we run out of time. That's always been my feel for what has happened on when we go evening meetings for our get-together. So that's just my thoughts. So we're looking for dates. Philip, thoughts? Did Christy give you any ideas? Is she fairly flexible?
Christy is available, and she's up for a Saturday if the board wants to do a Saturday. And I told her that my sense was that the board was wanting to do this a little earlier than typical. Sometimes we do it in March. So I told her it's likely going to be a date in February. So she's open and we'll probably could work with any date, whether it's February or March.
Okay. Trustees, do you have any input?
I like what you said about being earlier than later on. Is that what you were saying, Mayor?
As in, I'd like, what I like to see is Saturday is what I was implying. I do believe we can do it earlier in February. Yep.
Yeah, it's earlier in the day as opposed to
earlier in the day. Yes,
Sure.
when we do a 6 o'clock, we run out of time. We run out of discussion time.
Yep.
In the evening, and so it just seems to me to work better on a Saturday. And obviously, I want input, but in the past, when I've attended on Saturdays, it just seems to go better. It's more relaxed. We aren't under pressure to try to accomplish something within a time frame.
That sounds great to me.
Hey, Mayor and Philip, if I may interrupt real quick. Given COVID is still around, are we planning on doing a remote session this year?
You know, I think unfortunately, I think we're tied to that. I hate to say that. I prefer not, but unfortunately, I think with what's going on, we still have restrictions. Philip, what do you think?
We can make either one work. In fact, we could, we're prepared. We can use the community center. We could structure it if people wanted to meet in person there. I'm sure we'd have plenty of space to spread out. If the board would prefer to do it remote, we could even do it hybrid. I'm not sure that would be the best setup, but it's also an option. So all of those are on the table for you all to consider.
I'm a little dense tonight. What do you mean by hybrid?
Some people could be in the room. Some people could be connected through Zoom.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
that's a good question. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the date.
Sandwiches.
Sorry, but after mid-February, you can now always use the conference room up here at the airport as well.
I think, and thank you, Jack. I think we'd have more room at the community center. Just a bigger room, but I appreciate that. I'm wide open. I'm flexible. So trustees, how about take a look at your schedules and let's shoot either Philip, myself, an email, text, whatever, on options of dates. And let's get something put together and let's try to do something by mid-February. So in other words, we're looking at the 6th, we're looking at 13th. We could always go 20th, but I would like to try to get something done in February if we can.
I would recommend not the 13th because that's a holiday weekend and.
Yes, it is for you guys, okay? So we're looking 6th and the 20th maybe, and 6th might be a push for Christie or anybody else. I mean, it just depends on scheduling.
I'm in for the 20th.
Okay, Norm likes 20th.
Yeah, I work on the weekends, so I don't know if I would be able to attend or not.
What time do you go in, Devin?
10 a.m.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
I'd sure like you to be able to attend. I hate to take anybody out of the process. So let's give it a little thought, trustees. And
Yeah, it's a month out. I could always get someone to cover or change shifts or something. I could figure something out, but
the
that's
earlier
when I make the money. So
gotcha. The more notice you have, the better off you'd be.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if we can, then the 20th. Any others? Y'all need to look at a schedule and get back to us.
20th works for me. I'm very flexible, so I'll go wherever.
Okay.
20th is good for me.
It's fine with me too.
Okay.
Yeah, and if we did do it on a weekend, the shifts that I have go between either 10 o'clock or 4 o'clock. So if we could make it so I don't lose both of my shifts.
Exactly.
Nice.
And I would totally agree with that. I think we would probably want to start, I think, don't you, Philip, the latest 9?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, very latest 9, and we should be done, not pushing or anything, but we should be done by 1 or 2, something like that, so that there should be plenty of time. Possibly we can work out some kind of box lunch or something, so we aren't handling food, that type of deal. I mean, we can work on that part of it.
Yep.
So what do you think, Cindy?
I can make the 20th work. That'll be fine.
Okay, I think we've got the 20th work, Philip.
Yep, that'll work.
Okay, let's plan on 9 o'clock. We'll talk to Christy, and if there's any problems, we will get back to you. So freshen up your mind, thoughts. Philip, you'll have some information for us, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay, who we will have, will Joel be there also?
We can do that with the board. I guess I'd like to hear from the board. What do you all want? Do you want, I would like to participate. I can bring in some other staff if you think it's necessary. But I guess I'll go ahead and say that I think that you'd be just fine with myself and the board and Christy.
Okay.
I'll have plenty of background information on what's going on project wise and everything. And I think you all can run with it from there.
Great, great. That way we won't expose Joel. We'd hate to lose Joel.
Yeah.
Wonder if
He's
we
the
could look
designated survivor.
Dave Volpe sent this out. It'd be something about board culture that might be interesting to read ahead of time. If Dave could send it out again.
Oh, yeah,
Did-
I can do
Did
that.
everybody get that, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send it again.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Open mind, fresh eyes. 2020 is behind us. Thank goodness. Yeah. So let's move forward. Did you have anything else to add, Philip?
On that, no, I think that's a great time frame for this, and I'm just checking my notes. No, I think that's it.
Cool. I'm all good. Glad to see everybody here. Let's move forward. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Dave.
Second.
Second, Nyberg. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you all. Have a very good night. Appreciate you all.